Over the years in South Africa, it has gotten more and more expensive to buy a new car, to the point where it's nearly impossible to buy a new car, which is why we've seen a lot of attention thrown into the used car market, especially on South African social media platforms like YouTube, with channels like Muzi Sambo and Mambo Repairs fixing up old cars and showcasing the potential of the used car market. So in this video, we're going to analyze the new car market in South Africa. Then we're going to look back in the country's history to see when cars were actually affordable and what they went for. And then finally, we're going to analyze the issue. We're going to answer the question of why new cars in South Africa are so expensive. So yeah, let's get into it. So I want to start the video off by going on to Auto Trader, looking for some new cars in order to experience firsthand what it is like trying to buy a new car in South Africa. So let's go on to Auto Trader. Gonna look for new and used cars. We're gonna search for Toyota Hilux. Gonna show variant. We want the 2.8 GD6. We're gonna click search and we are going to filter new or used. We want new ones, and even starting from price low to high, we can see there that these are club cabs. If we actually sort by body type and we look for double cab Hiluxes, the lowest Hilux is a Raider for 643,000 rands. And if we start scrolling down here, we see a 2025 Hilux 2.8 GD6 going for as high as 839,000 rands. And there's plenty of examples of these types of cars. If I just moved into a new page here, we can see there Hilux going for 890,000, 780,000. That's a basic Raider going for 780,000 rand. Another Raider going for not even close to 800, damn near 800,000 rands. And we scroll down and basically that's all we're going to see is new Hiluxes going for well over 810,000 rands. Now let's move on. If you're more of a sporty car driver kind of guy, let's look for a Golf GTI. Yes, search, and I want new ones. Let's sort by price low to high. The cheapest Mark 8 GTI you can buy is 790,000 rands. And if we scroll down here, it should not be difficult to find Mark 8 GTIs. If we go to the third page here, it is not difficult at all to find Mark 8 GTIs nearing a million rand, 907,050 rands there for this one. The most expensive one on Auto Trader going for 926,900 rand. That is absolutely insane. Now, these two cars that we've searched, they are relatively high-end in the South African market. A Hilux is a relatively high-end buggy. A GTI is obviously a very high-end hatchback. Let's go for something way more basic, something for the everyman, something like a Suzuki Swift. We look for new Suzuki Swift. Suzuki Swift here going for 260,000 rands. Yes, granted, it is the CVT automatic. It looks like a top of the range car, but a car that small should not be going for that much money. And if you sort by this time, let's go price high to low. There is a Suzuki, okay, granted these are Suzuki Swift Sports. Let's just not include those. A normal Suzuki Swift here, 2025 brand new Suzuki Swift 1.2 GLX CVT is going for close to 300,000 rands. A car this small for that much money. So yeah, it is not difficult then to see that there is a serious problem with the South African used car market. But to answer the question of why this is happening, we first have to go back to a time where the South African car industry was in a much better place. So the 80s and 90s were actually a time in South Africa where you could afford to buy a used car without having to sell an internal organ. So let's look at some prices of cars back then. We're going to look at some of the best sellers of the day. And number one, we're going to look at their original prices, and then we're going to adjust their prices for inflation and compare them to their modern counterparts. Starting with the trusty, dependable Hilux. In 1986, you could get yourself a brand new Toyota Hilux for 12,475 1980s rands. Now, obviously, that was way more money back then, but still, even if we adjust that price for inflation now, that is only 93,562 rands for a brand new Bakkie. An entry-level Hilux today runs you triple that. It's 361,700 rands for the same thing that you could have gotten in 1986 for only 93,000 equivalent rands. That is absolutely insane, and I'm assuming some of you are already speculating why this happened. We're gonna get into those reasons, and what you think happened is probably what happened, but we're gonna get into that later. Now let's get into some more examples of cars back then and what they cost compared to their modern counterparts. So my car, a BMW 320i in 1992, was worth 254,392 rands, and that is the adjusted amount. That's not 90s money, that is real time 2025 money. That is absolutely insane. I can tell you right now, without even looking at anything, that is not what a BMW 3 Series costs today. And if you actually go to the BMW website, we see that a brand new BMW 320i LCI today will run you an insane 905,000 rands for something that in 1996 you could have gotten for like a quarter of that. Absolutely insane. And let's look at one more car that was very popular back in the day, still is a very popular car, still is a bestseller, the Toyota Corolla. In 1992 rands, you could buy a brand new Toyota Corolla 1.3 for 39,039 rands, which adjusted for inflation is 114,152 rands. Brand new Corolla today, a base model, mind you, will run you 554,800 rand. That is the base price for basically the same car. Okay, I say the same car. We're gonna get into that with how modern cars are just way nicer than those cars, but still, that is an insane difference. Even if we adjust for inflation, the new Corolla is worth 5 times more than what the older one is. So yeah, just absolute ridiculousness. So now you might be asking yourself, how did we get to this point? How did we get to a point where the modern counterpart of certain cars are worth 5 to 9, 10 times more than what they originally cost back in the day? And if you look at this graph of Hilux prices, you can see that year on year, the prices of brand new Hiluxes just kept going up. And this is not true for the Hilux only. Take a look at all these other statistics for all these other different cars, and we see the same trend. Car prices just going up and up and up year over year. Why did this happen? What went wrong? Well, the first part of answering that question is just understanding that these are kind of different cars at this point. Like a 1992 320i compared to a 2025 320i is not a comparison you can even make. Even if you went apples for apples, the new one just still comes out on top. Even if the 1992 one was brand new and you're obviously comparing to a new 320i, the modern 320i is still just a nicer car. And unfortunately, that is just the consequence of modernization, is that modern cars are just way more expensive and complicated than those older ones. Modern safety and emission standards need a lot of money put into research and development, which contributes to a higher product cost at the end of the day. All of the nice modern technology as well, stuff like driver assist, infotainment, climate control, as well as stuff like sensors and keyless entry, all of that stuff cost a lot of money, not only to develop, but to implement in a way that is compliant with all of the safety standards that are put into place right now in the modern automotive industry. So that is one reason why these cars are more expensive. It's just they are just way more advanced technologically. Another factor contributing to the hike in car prices recently is that the rand has just been getting weaker over time since the 80s and 90s, making just everything more expensive. This is not only cars we're talking about. Food is more expensive. Just cost of living generally, paying rent, paying electricity. Everything has gotten way more expensive just because of inflation and the rand getting weaker. To give you an example, in 2005, 100,000 rands was worth $15,700. With that same amount today, being only worth $5,400. So if you extrapolate that and you go even further back, it is easy to see how much weaker the rand has gotten over time. And because a large majority of the South African motoring industry consists of manufacturers having to import components from overseas, obviously international trade uses the dollar. It is kind of the medium of trade. So now manufacturers have to pay 3 times more than what they would have had to pay in a year like 2005, for example. So also a large factor contributing to the rise in car prices. Now, on top of these 2 factors, we also have to take into account import duties and VAT, value added tax. There is a 25% import duty imposed on every single car imported into the country. This turns a 400,000 rand car into a 500,000 rand car before it even gets to the dealer floor, while it's still in the shop getting imported into the country. And this is a big problem because a lot of popular manufacturers in South Africa actually import their cars. They don't have a local manufacturing plant, so a lot of them are hit hard by this import duty. Brands that are affected by these duties include Honda's entire lineup, like the entire thing, cars like the Suzuki Swift, and a large majority of Suzuki's cars, in fact, Hyundais and Kias, as well as a large majority of BMWs. There is the Rosslyn plant where I believe the BMW X3 is assembled. But apart from that, a large majority of BMWs do come from Germany and they are subject to those import duties. And it's not just those brands I just listed. A large majority, in fact 60% of cars on the roads today come from foreign countries. They're not manufactured in the country. So you can see the large majority of the South African car market hit hard by import duties. And when you take into consideration that on top of the import duties, there's also a 15% VAT charged on that car as well, it means that that 500,000 rand car now gets closer to 600,000 rands, still without even hitting the dealership floors. So yeah, taxation obviously a very large part of why we've seen such a large hike in the car prices in the country. And the final tax, I can't believe there's 3 different types of taxes are being imparted on cars in South Africa. The final tax is ad valorem tax. This is a constantly changing tax that is charged on high value luxury vehicles, your G-Wagons, your M cars, everything like that. All your nice cars, they have this tax put on them. And it is a tax that is determined by a bunch of factors, including stuff like retail price and a car's engine capacity. And obviously with something as big and as expensive as a G-Wagon, you can expect an ad valorem tax of up to 30%. On top of every other tax, the import duties and the VAT that you have to pay. So yeah, no, this is a fairly large part of the issue right here. And the last issue, the last problem that is causing the insane car prices in South Africa today is car financing. As of 2024, South Africa has a fairly high 11% prime lending rate, which if we compare to countries like the US has a 7.5% rate and the UK only has a 5.2% rate. So you can see that you are kind of screwed when it comes to car financing in the country. And obviously car financing, I wouldn't say it's totally a bad thing, but yeah, the interest is quite substantial. And what is worse is that most institutions will charge even higher at an average of a 13% APR. That is 13% of the price of the car, of the original price, added on to its price when you choose to pay a car through vehicle financing. This means that for a 350,000 rand car paid over 72 months, you're going to actually end up paying a massive 533,236 rands round about. So yeah, another thing that is not helping the already sky high car prices in South Africa is vehicle financing in the country. Obviously, you want to buy a car cash whenever you can, but sometimes, yes, you have the cash, but you don't want all your money tied up in a car like that. And financing just allows you to be more cash positive, especially for a business owner. There's a lot more important stuff that you could do with that cash, even if you have it. And so you're kind of forced sometimes into vehicle financing. But yeah, you do end up kind of paying for that substantially with how much interest is charged there. And the last issue under vehicle financing is the big issue. There's just the massive, just balloon payments, man. Balloon payments. That's just such a mess in this country. Not even in this country. Balloon payments in general are just not a good thing. Like, if you can afford a balloon payment, please do. Please do. Because what will happen is you will fail to settle that amount at the end, and you end up paying 50% more for the car than what you would have paid doing maybe regular financing or just paying the car cash. So basically, a balloon payment, for those who are not familiar with the concept, what it is let's say you have a car that is worth 500,000 rands, let's say about, and let's say fictionally, I don't know how accurate this is, let's say fictionally for that car per month, maybe you're paying 20,000 rands. That is through regular financing. What a balloon payment is you can choose to take maybe 200 or 300,000 rands from that 500,000 rands and set it aside, and then pay the balance, that 200 or 250,000 rands that is left, which means that you pay less for your installments, obviously, but which also means that at the end of paying your installments, you are liable to pay all of that money at once you're done paying off the financed part. That's why balloon payments will kill you in the long run, because most people, they don't even think about it. They get a balloon payment, and then when it's time to pay, they can't, and you end up just getting massive charges there, and you end up paying like 50% more for the car, turning a 500,000 rand car into a 750, 800,000 rand car, just because you couldn't settle or refinance that amount at the end. So yeah, that is it for my video today, outlining the insanity happening in the South African car industry right now. Not really insanity, it is something that has been happening over a very, very, very long time, and as we saw, there's a plethora of factors contributing towards the issue. But yeah, let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of what's happening in the industry right now and what's happening to the rand, what's happening to the economy as a whole. I'm really interested to hear what you think. Also, let me know what you thought of the video. If this is your first time watching the channel, please make sure you like and subscribe if you like the video. Also subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be posting way more frequently. But yeah, let me not waste your time. Until the next one, goodbye.